Rev it up to 2200 and drop the brake. Yep, wheel spin, and we are off. Definitely working through the slipperiness of it all. Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and this is the all-new Ranger, Ford's entry into the very competitive midsize pickup truck segment against sales leaders like the updated Toyota Tacoma, Chevy Colorado, GMC Canyon, Jeep Gladiator, Nissan Frontier. You get it, the list goes on. This is a very hot segment. And even though I am filming this at the end of March of 2025, eagle-eyed viewers might already know that this is actually a 2024 model. What all has changed for 2025? Would I recommend this versus all of those competitors I just listed? And what's it like to live with? First things first, I do want to thank Ford for finally getting me a Ranger to test here on the channel. I have sampled a lot indoors at auto shows. I have even ridden in the Ranger Raptor before it was available even to the media. So getting to spend a week with the new version, very enticing to me. This is a pickup truck that has appealed to me since Holly and I were at Ranger Camp outside of Detroit, Michigan, where Ford unveiled the new pickup truck, the new look. This is a global pickup truck, and they really did want it to emphasize and lean into its baby F-150 styling. I think they absolutely hit it out of the park. But let's start with what motivates this, because this is one of the few, and I use that word few, but one of the midsize pickup trucks in the segment that still offers 6 cylinders. Toyota Tacoma has now gone exclusively 4-cylinder. You can get a Turbo 4 or a Turbo Hybrid 4. Canyon and Colorado have also gone Turbo 4, whereas Nissan, Jeep, even Honda keep producing their 6-cylinder midsize pickup trucks. This is the larger of the two engines. It is an optional 2.7-liter turbocharged EcoBoost V6, making 315 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, routed to all 4 wheels via a part-time 4-wheel drive system and a 10-speed automatic transmission. We will talk about all of that when we get this thing in motion, but suffice it to say, it is nice to have a midsize pickup truck with 6 cylinders, especially when so many are losing 2 of them for what? The fuel economy numbers aren't exactly echoing the loss in 2 cylinders, even though the brands that are going Turbo 4 really are keeping the power numbers up. This has less torque than the last Turbo 4-cylinder we sampled from Chevrolet in the Colorado ZR2 Bison, but it does have more power than the naturally aspirated V6 we just sampled in the Jeep Gladiator. So it's competitive. You can also get a larger, more powerful V6 in the Ranger Raptor, which I'm still waiting on. Ford, you can send one over my way. We'd be quite happy. Otherwise, the look of this absolutely just hit it out of the park. I do believe this would be my vote for the best looking in the segment. The Gladiator's fine from the front, but looks kind of weird from the side. The Colorado isn't as good looking as its GMC Canyon counterpart. And while the Honda Ridgeline is technically a truck, this exudes more masculine truck-like identity. Plus, well, it's body on frame, so it's more a truck, right? And as I mentioned before, they really did want to emphasize its baby F-150 styling for the global market. So we get a very rough, very mean, and very aggressive front look here on the front of this Ranger. And I think they absolutely nailed it. This works so much better than the last version of the Ranger we actually tested here at Barnwell Mountain. That was a trimmer model. This is a Lariat FX4. This is the most off-roadified you can get before stepping up to that bigger, more expensive Raptor. This really does compete against the Chevy, I would say, LT Z71 or the GMC Canyon AT4, the Nissan Frontier Pro 4X, or a TRD off-road version of the Tacoma. And yes, you can go more crazy than this, but the trimmer is no longer offered on this one. You can see we get LED lighting, very modernized look up front here. Yes, they nailed the design. And in fact, when you get in the vehicle, a little animation of the pickup truck does make itself obvious on the 12-inch driver information screen. And if you just glance at it, you'd be easily fooled who think it is an F-150. The look of this really does translate quite well. And again, I think it is my favorite in the segment. The FX4 package does give you off-road goodies like bash plates, underbody protection, and these very interesting 18-inch wheels wrapped in Goodyear Wrangler tires. These are Territory ATS tires. They are 255/65 R18s, and they are definitely a better tire compound than the general grabbers we had on that trimmer the last time we were out here. As we pull around to the side, I'll go ahead and mention a few of the things that have changed for 2025. First of all, this red hot chili pepper red exterior has been replaced by ruby red. And that's what I meant at the very beginning about eagle-eyed viewers being able to spot the difference. That and some pricing options are the biggest differences between 25 and 24. But the other one is this. It is very interesting to me. First of all, in March of 2025, you can still go on Build and Price and build you a 24 model. And when I did, these black running boards are standard on the FX4 off-road package. They are body mounted, not frame mounted, body mounted side steps here on this off-road focused Ranger. For 2025, they are an optional extra. So yes, you can still get them, but they're not forced upon you. And for me, just me, not me and Holly, I would opt to remove them versus having them on here. But I can already tell you that, yes, when we do our family review, Holly's probably gonna very much appreciate that those are here. We get round wheel wells here in this one versus the angular wheel cutouts of, say, the Jeep Gladiator, and even some of the options from other brands. And as we come around to the back, you can see we have the upgraded LED taillights, but interestingly enough, incandescent turn signals here on this one. I really like how Ranger is stamped into the tailgate. We get our requisite government mandated backup camera here that does have a little bit of a shroud around it, which should protect it a little bit more long term. And then we get an extremely damped tailgate because it actually has its own gas strut. And when we do open it up, we have the optional Tough Bed spray and bed liner, which I highly recommend. And then coming over here, you can see we do have some power in the bed, which is very welcome. Some other additions to the tailgate wars. We do have some measurements along here for not so precise, but definitely more precise measurements than what you get in F-150. You can also do some woodwork, but I don't say that these measurements and these clamp cutouts are in tandem because, again, I don't know that you could do too many precise wood cuts with those as your only measurement option. It's really more for keeping you from telling fishtails. Given how damped this is, it is very easy to close one-handed, and it makes for a very usable pickup truck in almost every situation. Before we climb in this one, I do want to talk about the key. It is Ford's typical proximity key. You can see we have unlock, lock, remote start, and your panic button. You can deploy a physical key from here, but you don't have to. Again, it is a proximity key. One thing I will also note is Ford always gives us access to their apps and their connected services, so I can also lock and unlock it and remote start it from my phone, which is a very nice touch. I wish more manufacturers would set that up for media so that we can test. It is a fairly robust system. But as I said, that is a proximity key. You can just keep in your pocket, your purse. It is a passive entry system, so it unlocks when you grab the door handle, locks when you push right there. And unfortunately, that is only on the front two doors. So if you're using this as a family vehicle, as many Texans would, well, just know you're going to be touching the door handle up front before putting your kid in the back. As we open it up, the Lariat trim is the most luxurious trim. Again, the only trim above this is the very off-road ready Ranger Raptor. So this really is the most luxurious. Think of it as the, I said GMC Canyon AT4, and that one really would apply, but there's also the Denali trim there with GMC, so it does kind of muddy the waters a little bit, but given the fact that this is an FX4 off-road, I would say it compares nicely against that AT4, which, if you remember, I had quite a few complaints of. Me being a GM faithful, I didn't actually recommend that one 2 years ago, and it was mostly because of the price, which was flirting with $50,000. This model right here is $54,000. And my other complaint was the build quality inside. I say, as we're staring at the interior of this one, I do believe this is the best interior in the segment as well, and we'll go through some of that. First and foremost, 3-person memory seat, which I really do like. I know there are only 2 of us in our family that drive. So this is me, that's Holly, and that is me off-roading. So I do have a different setting for when I'm off-roading. We'll talk about that in our off-road video. You can see all of our controls here, F-150 style door latches, and a very comfortable armrest with some contrasting colors and materials. So it's not just black on black on black. And you can see we do have some storage down there. Coming to the seat controls, we have a 10-way power adjusting front seat for the driver. I do believe 8-way power adjustment for the passenger. And then we'll take a moment to pause real quick because we pulled out the Ranger branded factory installed floor liners for this video's partner, Lasfit liners. And you can see that these do absolutely fit in perfectly into our Ford Ranger. And you can get some for your Ranger and potentially win some from us if you are a lucky Ranger owner or planning to buy one. All links down in the video description down below. But yes, you can see they overlap the ledges right there. They are very good liners and come in handy when the outside looks like this out here at Barnwell. So very welcome addition to this pickup truck. We do have leather wrapped front seats. These are heated but not ventilated front seats. So that is a little bit of a miss here in this segment because the General Motors twins do offer ventilated front seats. As we come in, the overall design is very handsome in here. And I joked earlier, let's see if I can get it to come up, the animation on this 12-inch screen, very much looking like an F-150 if you just glance down at it, but very clearly a Ranger when you actually spend some time looking at it. And then we also have a 12-inch vertical screen here. So this, again, very much echoes the F-150 Lightning that we were just in. And it is a very clean, very handsome design. And again, perhaps my favorite in the segment. It is very linear, boxier, upright, and square, or rectangular, I guess. This 12-inch screen, I would prefer a horizontal one, but it works quite well. I even really like the design of the air vents, and they do a good job pumping out air. Down here, we have our physical controls for our lights, something that we don't get in the twins from GMC, or General Motors in the GMC Canyon and Chevy Colorado. We'll go ahead and push the engine start button, which is right here, but it is interesting that it's on the steering column because lower trims do actually have a physical key that you have to put in here and turn. Very interesting that that is still an option in 2024 models and 2025s. Go ahead and close the door. You may have also seen we do have the trailer package on this one. You can tow just over 7,000 pounds with this, which is very class competitive. We get all of our driver assistance and radio controls here on the steering wheel, nothing hidden on the backside. Very clear, easy to read 12-inch screen here. That is very familiar to anyone who has a modern Ford. You can see we're getting decent fuel economy. I've even done a little bit of off-roading here today. Moving over here, we do have a vertically oriented screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It is all wireless, but I've got it turned off right now because I am filming on my phone. We do have some electronic quick access buttons to your cameras, but unlike General Motors, the lawyers have stepped in here, and if you're driving around off-road, they do turn off on you just a bit too quickly once you get over a certain speed. The only caveat to that is if you're in one of the 2 off-road modes that come with this FX4 off-road. So that is one aside there, but the GM cameras do allow you to keep them on the entire time. I also don't feel like they're using the most of this space best. I feel like they could have re-engineered how the screen is laid out when in its camera modes. Then you can see down here we have some movable shortcuts for popular items. And then we have dual zone HVAC and your heated seats and steering wheel controls. Again, no ventilation here. We have redundant HVAC controls right here. Again, dual zone, but you get your digital readout there. Moving over to the passenger side, lots of additional storage here. So we have our glove box, which is nice. We have this rubberized shelf, which is very nice. And then you get an upper glove box, which isn't huge, but does allow you to put some items in and store them away, which is very nice. And no, it is not rubber lined like this mat down here. So that may be something that you look into or just kind of consider what you put in there. Moving down, we do have a Qi wireless charger that is offset, unlike what General Motors does, where it takes up the entire lower storage space because it runs horizontally. We have a little bit of storage here, USB-A and USB-C interfaces there. And then this little cubby right here, that does work perfectly for my iPad mini. I really do like that storage, though it does cover up the physical controls. I do have my redundant controls right here for HVAC, so it is something that I can keep up here. If I've got some off-road apps or the like, I can have them running if I need to, but I do like that little bit of storage there. 2 cup holders here, electronic control for your 2-speed transfer case. You can see 2 high, 4 low, 4 high, no automatic mode like General Motors offers, and then our switch for our different drive modes. You can see normal, eco, sport, tow haul, slippery, and then our 2 off-road, mud, ruts, and sand. And those 2 do allow for the cameras to stay on. They also operate as presets, so that can do anything from lock up, that electronic locking rear differential, or just turn off traction control. One thing I don't particularly love down here is this gear selector. We do have a 10-speed automatic, but the button is up front here. It's just a very unnatural process because over here we have the plus and minus and the manual control buttons. I don't like it. It's not my favorite. I feel like you should grab it like this to move it, not like this. Would I get used to it? Potentially, but I can tell you in my time with it, it has not been my favorite. I just have to recalibrate my brain, I guess. You can see we do get 360 cameras when we put it in reverse, electronic parking brake here, and then we have some off-road controls, including a quick access button to our off-road cameras with your trajectory. So I do like that, and you can see it takes us right into off-road mode, shows us our tire pressures. If my rear diff was locked up, I could do that right there. You can see, boom, locked up, and then trail control is right there. So really do like the quick access nature of that right there. Decent sized center console with lots of room and a tray for additional stuff up top. That is the outline of my key. I don't know of anyone who actually keeps their key anywhere but in their pocket. I don't know. Are you taking your keys out? What are you doing? As we look up, no sunroof in this particular model, but plenty of headroom. I do have my seat all the way down on the floor, but it is a very comfortable seating position. I very much feel like I'm sitting in a chair. Very comfortable. I do feel like the windows come up a little high For a pickup truck, I feel a little bit more like I'm in a car based on how high the windows are, but other than that, I'd say the front seat is very comfortable. Now let's check out the back seat, which is a very interesting option in the segment. I'll get into the details back there. Coming to the back doors, I already mentioned these are not passive entry, but you can get into them very nicely. Back here, it is mostly black on black. It is a very dark back seat, but you can see we do have 3 across seating. We do have armrest. We do have the same door latches that we had up front. We do have more storage in the back door than what General Motors gives you, about the same as what Toyota gives you. And then again, another look at our Lasfit liners. This back seat is one continuous piece, whereas the stock option that came from Ford with this Ranger, their off-road mud liners, were a 2-piece unit. So again, Lasfit really stepping up their game. More details down below. Now, the back seat. It is a very interesting option here in this segment. I have rated it as one of my favorite for a lot of different reasons. First and foremost, the underseat storage. We'll go ahead and grab this strap right here. There's one on the other side as well, and lift it up. And you can see that it is a decent size under seat storage. We've got 2 different cubbies, but the unfortunate thing that really does knock it down a notch for me is that it is a 100% unit. It is a full width unit, so if Tucker's child safety seat were in place over there, I'm not getting to any of this, which is unfortunate. Most others in the segment are 60/40, and you can see that is even where the largest section is. So anything I put down here with Tucker and his child seat is going to be lost forever. Just something to take into consideration. You pull that latch again, and they do fold down. There are some other tricks that I'm actually going to come around the vehicle to show you, because there is only one space to do this next trick, and that is something that General Motors used to offer, and that is a full fold flat rear seat. So last generation Canyons and Colorados did have a fold flat seat back. Again, it's one big unit. It's not a 60/40 split. But a lot of people have complained that General Motors has ditched this in favor of a fixed in place unit. It does mean the GM child seat tethers are differently arranged than these back here, and I'd do a full child seat install in a future video with the full family. We do get a fun little Easter egg right here. Ranger since 1983. Just behind the seat back. And if any of you watching this have been in an old extended cab Ranger from the good old days, you know that this back seat is far superior to anything that Ford offered back in the 80s. We even have a fold-down armrest with 2 cup holders. But what is it like for me climbing in? Well, first, no B-pillar mounted handle, so I guess just grab the door handle, use the step that came standard on our 24 FX4, and yeah, I've got plenty of room. I have no complaints about the space back here. I do feel, outside of perhaps the Honda Ridgeline, that this is the best backseat for people, if that makes sense. The Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro is the worst because they have those crazy seats with all the shocks on the back of them. There's no legroom back here whatsoever. You have more room in the backseat of a Mustang than you do in the backseat of a Tacoma TRD Pro. And on the back of the center console, we get some storage here. Hard plastic, gonna make a lot of noise. USB-A, USB-C, and a household style plug there. Again, I will mention our 1-piece Lasfit liners. And then we have some storage in both of the back seats. Coming to me, you can see plenty of headroom. I am more upright back here. I don't know if you noticed just kind of how thin this seat back was. You can tell there's not a lot of padding back there. I don't know that I would want to ride all the way across Texas back here, but the legroom definitely makes up for the fact that this is a mid-sized pickup truck that really can fit real-life adults back here in the back. That's enough of taking a tour around it. Let's see what it's like on the road. If you want to see what it's like here at Barnwell, well, you're going to have to hit that subscribe button. Setting off from Barnwell Mountain, one of the talking points that really comes to mind with this pickup truck is just how well it transitions from off-road to on-road. I do have a full video coming showing this vehicle's off-road prowess. So if you want to see that, be sure and hit the subscribe button. I also have a video coming out with Holly behind the wheel and Tucker back in his car seat. We'll install his child safety seat and all that. But we'll give you her full thoughts and impressions on it there. But as you can see, we are leaving the red dirt of Barnwell Mountain here in Gilmer, Texas. So my camera is falling down, and we will be on road to where we can talk about exactly what this is like living with in the situation you're probably going to be with it in the most. First thing I want to talk about, CarPlay. I am currently plugged in just because, well, my phone charges faster than the Qi wireless charger if it is plugged in via USB-C as it is, but wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can see vertical display here. I generally really like this design. Works well, it's plenty snappy. We do have a few quick access buttons like your camera, but the lawyers only allow you to see out back at a certain speed. All your vehicle controls are right here. There's a full off-road screen if you want to get into that. Lots can be configured through that screen there. And then I have this drive mode dial here that puts it in several different drive modes. I am currently in two-wheel drive, normal drive mode, and it just rained a little bit here outside of Gilmer, so it's a little bit slippery, but not enough to put it in slippery drive mode. And this is where I can talk about how this thing drives. As I mentioned multiple times, it is about an hour drive to Barnwell from my home, and I really get to see how this handles in the city and on the highway at 75 miles per hour, Texas highway speeds and all. And it does very well. We have adaptive cruise control. I really like Ford's adaptive cruise control system, in which it uses the traffic sign recognition and it'll automatically change the speed for you if you like that option. Again, can be configured in the screen here. You can even set tolerances. So if you like to drive 3 under for whatever reason, you can do that. And as you pass a new speed limit sign, it'll adjust to 3 under. You can see this Lariat model, this top trim outside of the Ranger Raptor, also has automatic wipers, which is a nice touch. When it's raining, it's not raining. It's raining, it's not raining. I do like that a lot. Again, luxurious, nice touches here in this top luxury trim of the Ranger. Goes very nicely with all the technology here in front of me. And then these seats, very comfortable seats. Though I will say, I am sitting all the way down. I do feel like I'm sitting a little low, but I've got plenty of headroom up above me. Very configurable seats here. I like that a lot. 3-person memory, which is nice. Multiple ways to get comfortable. Tilt telescoping steering wheel, but it is a manual tilt telescoping steering wheel. And generally good visibility all the way around me, though that back window is a little on the narrow side because of how tall the bedsides are. That's just a trend that came up out of where exactly? I don't know, but tiny back windows in mid-size pickup trucks have been a thing since the mid-2000s. Go figure. Otherwise, the ride in this, we do still have leaf springs and a solid rear axle back there, unlike the independently rear sprung Lightning that we just got out of, which is a bit of an anomaly in the full-size truck segment. I can talk and drive. And I would say this rides very well. While top competitors from Toyota have ditched the leaf springs in favor of more advanced rear suspension, I would say this rides fairly well. Though there were some sections on this highway leading out to Barnwell that it got a little truck jittery, that it just wasn't my favorite. And I think we're actually coming up on that right now. You do still know you're driving a truck, but it's not terrible. It doesn't beat you up. And with all the space that I showed you in the second row, this really could be used as a daily driver. It does fit in our standard East Texas garage, and that really is what the midsize truck market aims to do. Be something that can be a daily driver, usable for all in all seats, and still fit in your garage if that's something that you would like. Though if this is still a little bit too big for you, You can step down to the Maverick, and that absolutely fits in the garage, but is a little bit smaller and not a body-on-frame pickup truck like this one. We did have the trimmer version of that, and had quite a bit of fun in it alongside a Ram 1500 TRX. If that tells you anything about the fun factor of the trimmer version of that little Maverick pickup truck. Otherwise, living with this, I think it would be a swell pickup truck to live with daily. Nice storage options abound. I still can't get over just how well my iPad mini fits right there up front, which is a very nice touch. Don't know that I would use it all the time, but nice little compartment there for it if I needed it. I like the dual level storage here with the additional glove box down there. So storage on storage on storage. Ford really is making the most of this interior. We don't have a big dash, so I feel like we're in a nice sized cabin without a lot of wasted space. It really does work well in here. And then I've got some really big rear view mirrors with blind spot monitoring and the like. So again, going back to my visibility comment earlier, you really can see out of this one quite well. So I don't have ideal situations. It has been raining today, but it's allowed me to see how this Ranger performs in the rain. But now we're gonna see what it's like 0 to 60 testing it. First, I'm gonna brake torque it a couple times. I'm not in my usual spot. I've got a long straight runway in front of me, and we'll see just how it does. Go ahead and put it into sport mode though. With that 400 pound-foot of torque, I'm expecting maybe a little bit of wheel spin in too high, but let's see. Brake torque it, rev it up to 2200 and drop the brake. Yep, wheel spin, and we are off. Definitely working through the slipperiness of it all. 655 in less than ideal situations. I'd say that's pretty impressive for this midsize pickup truck. And we're gonna do that one more time in the other direction before we'll do a more real world 0 to 60 test, in which we just see from a standstill what it's like moving my foot from the brake to the accelerator. All right, those of you that watched my Ford Mustang video may recognize this particular location. It's where I tested out line lock, but hopefully we don't get a lot of wheel spin here. Again, we're gonna brake torque it. We're in too high, in sport mode, 2200, and drop the brake. Yep, wheel spin, but we are off. Quicker 0 to 30 that time. And quicker 0 to 60, 6.36. Not too shabby. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and put it in 4 high and see what we can do with a little bit extra traction. Maybe that'll get us a little bit better right off the line, which should help our total 0 to 60. Again, I know current situations are less than ideal for 0 to 60 runs, but we'll see exactly what this is capable of. Of course, 4-wheel drive also ruins your turning radius, but full stop, brake torque, and off. No wheel slip, a little bit of turbo lag, quickest 0 to 30 so far, and 622 to 60 that time. Pretty impressive, I'll say, even in not great conditions here. All right, now we're gonna go ahead, put it back in too high and take it out of sport mode. We'll put it in normal. So how you would probably typically drive this in this situation is how I drove it to this current testing site, and we'll see exactly what it's capable of. Just holding the brake and moving my foot from brake to accelerator. No brake torque, just seeing what this is capable of. I will turn off the auto start stop though. Ready, set, go. Definite amounts of turbo lag, but when you get into the power band, this thing pulls hard. 657, so not a lot of variance and fluctuation between all the different modes. And I know a lot of that has to do with wheel slippage. Would be very interesting to me exactly what this is capable of in too high on dry pavement, brake torquing it in sport mode. I still think we could get better than we got here today, but just gives you a good idea. 6.5 seconds without really trying it is a very good result here from this pickup truck, and does rival a lot of its competitors. I will say the fact that we have a turbocharged V6 means it's relying less on the turbo and more on the power of the V6 than some of those Turbo 4s we have tested across the segment. Well, that about does it here for my time in this one on-road, but you will want to subscribe to see what this is like off-road, because while yes, we did start this video out at Barnwell, I did test this out at Barnwell while I had it, and you'll want to see that. We will also have Holly behind the wheel here and Tucker in the back seat to see what this is like for a family vehicle. Suffice it to say, I really do think this is one of the best midsize pickup trucks in the segment. It does have a few things that I don't love about it, this shifter being one of it, but generally living with it as we have so far this week, I'd say it is a very solid entry. If you want to know more about our partnership with RaceBox, with Lasfit liners, check out the video description down below. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, you name it. Everything is at GT Garage Talk, or you can go to gtgaragetalk.com. But as for me, in the 2024, though could also be called 2025 Ford Ranger, until next time, dear heads, bye.